My child, I know you're busy, and I'm sorry to interrupt you like this truly. I know your life feels full, your mind crowded, your time pulled in many directions. I know how carefully you choose what deserves your attention. But you cannot ignore this. Not because I want to demand something from you, but because I see something you cannot see yet, and love will not let me stay silent when silence would cost you more. The enemy is hoping you scroll past right now. Not with fear, not with force, but with distraction. They do not need to attack you loudly. They only need you to stay busy, to stay numb, to stay moving just fast enough that you do not stop to listen. That is all they want in this moment. Delay, distraction, dismissal. And I am speaking now because I refuse to let that happen without warning you first. They do not want you to see this, because what you are about to hear will wake you up. Awareness weakens their hold. Clarity breaks subtle chains. When you see clearly, you stop agreeing with things that have been draining you quietly. That is why this moment feels urgent. Not because you are weak, but because you are close to seeing something that changes how you move forward. I would not stop you like this unless it mattered deeply. I do not interrupt lightly. I know how often you are interrupted already. I know how precious uninterrupted moments feel to you. That is why I chose this one. Because what you don't see yet is already affecting you, and love does not wait until damage is obvious to speak. Please don't tell yourself you will listen later. I know that voice well. It sounds reasonable. It sounds calm. It tells you this can wait until you are less tired, less distracted, more available. But later has already taken more from you than you realize. Later has stretched into weeks and months before, and by the time you returned, the clarity you needed felt harder to grasp. I am calling you into now, not to rush you, but to protect you. You are being distracted on purpose, and you need to know why. Not everything pulling at your attention is harmless. Not everything demanding your time is neutral. Some distractions are carefully designed to keep you from noticing what is shifting in your heart, what is draining your spirit, what is slowly pulling you away from peace. I am not accusing you. I am revealing what has been happening so you can choose with awareness instead of habit. I see how full your life feels. I see the responsibilities you carry. I see the expectations placed on you. I see how hard you try to keep everything together. But I also see something else. I see how your soul has been targeted quietly. Not through crisis, but through exhaustion. Not through chaos, but through constant noise. That is why you feel tired in ways sleep does not fix. That is why your heart feels heavy without a clear reason. This is not random. Open now. Stay with me. This message is protection. Not from me, but for you. Protection does not always look like comfort. Sometimes it looks like interruption. Sometimes it looks like a voice saying, "Stop for a moment. Look. Listen." That is what I am doing right now. I am speaking because I love you, not because you are failing. I need you to hear that clearly. This is not correction rooted in disappointment. This is warning rooted in care. If you were failing, I would not be this close. If you were lost beyond hope, I would not be speaking so personally. I am speaking because you matter, and what is happening around you matters. Do not scroll past. What you don't see can still harm you. Ignorance does not protect the heart. Awareness does. When you know what is happening, you can choose differently. When you understand the pull, you can resist it. When you see the pattern, you stop blaming yourself for feeling off. I am giving you understanding so you can breathe again. I know part of you wants to turn away, not because you don't care, but because intensity feels heavy. I know you would rather stay comfortable than confront something unseen. But comfort without truth eventually collapses. I am offering you truth now so your peace does not rest on something fragile. You may feel tension rising in you as you listen. That is not fear. That is recognition. Something in you knows this moment matters. Something in you knows this is not just another message. That is why the enemy hopes you scroll. Because if you stay, you will start connecting dots you were never meant to ignore. I am not here to overwhelm you with information. I am here to sharpen your awareness. Awareness is gentle when it is guided. You do not need to figure everything out right now. You only need to stay long enough to see what you have been missing. Type I believe, Lord, even in silence if you know He's working behind the scenes. You have been strong for a long time. You have carried more than most people know. You have pushed through seasons where you should have rested. You have stayed productive even when your spirit needed quiet. That strength has been admirable, but it has also made you vulnerable. Busy hearts are easier to pull than broken ones. That is why I am stepping in now. I am not angry with you for being busy. I am not disappointed in you for being distracted. I understand how this world pulls at you constantly. That is why I am speaking with urgency instead of accusation. I am not here to shame you. I am here to wake you gently before weariness becomes numbness. Stay with me for a moment longer. Let your breathing slow. Let your heart stop racing ahead. You do not need to respond yet. You do not need to decide anything yet. You only need to listen. Listening is already an act of protection. I know you are tempted to think this is dramatic. I know you want to downplay it to make it easier to move on. But hear me. The most dangerous moments are not the loud ones. They are the quiet ones where nothing seems wrong but something is slowly drifting. I am speaking now because I love you too much to let that drift continue unnoticed. You are not alone in this moment. I am here with you. I am not watching from a distance. I am close, speaking directly to your heart, because you are worth the interruption. Open now. Stay with me. This message is not here to scare you. It is here to protect you, to steady you, to help you see clearly again. Do not scroll past. Stay. What you choose to do with this moment matters more than you realize. My child, I see how busy you are. I see the full calendar, the constant messages, the responsibilities that never seem to end. I see how your mind is always moving, how your days blur together, how even rest feels rushed. I know you did not wake up today planning to be interrupted, and I am truly sorry for breaking into your moment like this. I do not take your time lightly. I know how precious every minute feels to you right now. Please hear my heart clearly. I am not interrupting you because you have done something wrong. I am not stopping you to accuse you, to correct you harshly, or to add more weight to your already heavy load. I am interrupting you because I love you, and love sometimes steps in even when it feels inconvenient. Love does not always wait for the perfect moment. Love moves when protection is needed. I know how hard you work to keep everything together. I know how much effort it takes just to get through the day. You carry responsibilities that others do not see. You solve problems quietly. You show up even when you are tired. You keep going even when your heart feels stretched thin. I see all of that. I honor that. And I am not here to take away your strength. I am here because you have been carrying too much alone. I want to apologize gently, because I know interruption can feel frustrating. You may feel like you don't have space for one more thing, one more voice, one more demand. But listen to me carefully now. This is not a demand. This is an invitation. I am not asking you to add something to your list. I am asking you to pause, because continuing without awareness will cost you more than stopping for a moment with me. Love interrupts comfort when comfort begins to hide danger. Comfort can be good, but comfort can also numb awareness. When life moves fast enough, you stop noticing what is happening inside you. You stop hearing the quiet signals of your soul. You stop recognizing when something is draining you slowly. I am interrupting you not to disturb your peace, but to protect it. I'm not blaming you for being busy. I know this world pulls at you constantly. I know distractions are everywhere, calling for your attention, your energy, your emotions. I do not judge you for responding to them. I understand how easy it is to get swept along. That is why I am stepping in now, gently but clearly, before exhaustion turns into numbness and numbness turns into distance. This interruption is not an accusation. It is protection. I am not pointing a finger at you. I am reaching out a hand. I am saying, come here for a moment. Let me show you what you cannot see when you are always moving. You are not in trouble. You are not failing. You are loved enough to be warned before harm settles in quietly. I know part of you feels guilty even hearing this. You wonder if you should be doing more, praying more, listening more. Let the guilt go right now. Guilt is not my voice. Guilt pushes you away. Love draws you closer. I am not here to shame you into attention. I am here to invite you into safety. I see how tired your soul is, even if your body keeps going. I see the weariness you don't talk about. I see how your joy has been thinner lately, how your peace feels fragile, how your thoughts feel scattered. None of this makes you weak. It makes you human. And it tells me that this interruption is necessary. I would not stop you like this unless it mattered deeply. I would not press into your busy life unless staying silent would cost you something precious. There are moments when waiting feels polite but is actually harmful. This is one of those moments. Waiting would mean allowing you to keep pushing forward without realizing what is pulling at you from behind. You may feel resistance right now. You may want to rush through this and get back to what you were doing. I understand that instinct. But stay with me for a moment longer. Let yourself breathe. Let your shoulders relax. Let your heart slow down enough to hear me clearly. Please support our channel. Our work is focused on bringing happiness into your life and deepening devotion to God. If you would like to support us, you can donate through Super Thanks. I am not here to overwhelm you with information. I am here to restore awareness. Awareness brings choice. Choice brings freedom. When you see clearly, you can move wisely. When you are unaware, even good intentions can lead you into exhaustion. I know how much you value being responsible, dependable, productive. Those qualities are not wrong. But when they begin to replace rest, connection, and listening, they become heavy. I am interrupting you now so you do not lose yourself while trying to hold everything else together. This moment is not about fixing anything immediately. It is about seeing. It is about recognizing what hath been happening beneath the surface of your busy life. It is about letting me stand with you in the middle of your day instead of only at the edges. I am close to you right now. Not demanding, not disappointed, not distant. Close. Speaking gently, even with urgency, because urgency does not have to be harsh. Urgency can be loving. Urgency can be careful. Urgency can be a sign that you matter deeply. I want you to feel safe here. Safe enough to stop multitasking. Safe enough to admit you are tired. Safe enough to listen without defending yourself. I am not asking you to drop your responsibilities. I am asking you to let me help you carry them. You have been strong for a long time. You have adapted. You have pushed through. But strength without rest eventually becomes strain. I am interrupting you before strain turns into something harder to heal. Please do not see this as one more thing asking for your attention. See it as the one thing offering you relief. I am not competing with your life. I am part of it. I want to walk with you through it, not wait for you to collapse before I step in. Stay with me here. Let this interruption become a moment of heaviness and of annoyance. Let it remind you that you are not alone in your busy life. You are seen. You are cared for. You are protected. I interrupted you because you matter to me more than your schedule. I interrupted you because your soul is worth guarding. And I will continue speaking gently, clearly, and lovingly, as long as you are willing to stay and listen. My child, I want to speak to you clearly about what the enemy hopes you will do right now. Not to frighten you, not to make you suspicious of everything around you, but to help you see what is happening so you are no longer unaware. Awareness is not fear. Awareness is light. And light removes the power of what hides in the shadows. The enemy is not hoping to attack you loudly in this moment. They are not planning chaos or dramatic destruction. That is not their strategy here. Their hope is much quieter, much simpler. They hope you delay. They hope you dismiss this moment as unimportant. They hope you scroll past, tell yourself this can wait, and move on without noticing what just tried to reach you. Delay is one of their most effective tools. Delay does not feel dangerous. It feels reasonable. It sounds calm. It whispers, you can come back to this later, or this isn't urgent, or you're too busy right now. Delay does not raise alarms. That is why it works. It slowly moves truth out of reach without ever appearing to oppose it. The enemy does not need you to reject me. They only need you to stay distracted long enough that you never fully listen. They do not need you to fall apart. They only need you to keep going on autopilot. They do not need to steal your faith. They only need to dull your awareness. A distracted heart is easier to guide than a broken one. Scrolling past may feel like nothing. Just a small movement of your finger. Just a moment of distraction. But spiritually, scrolling past is often avoidance dressed as normal behavior. It is the act of moving away from something that feels weighty before it has a chance to speak clearly. Not because you are rebellious, but because depth feels uncomfortable when you are already tired. The enemy understands how busy you are. They see how full your mind is. They know you are exhausted. That is why they do not push hard. They pull gently. They add noise. They add urgency to everything else so this moment feels optional. They do not need to stop me from speaking. They only need to keep you from listening. Their greatest fear is not your strength. It is your awareness. Strength can be misdirected. Strength can be worn down. But awareness changes direction. Awareness makes you stop agreeing with things that drain you. Awareness helps you notice patterns you have been repeating without realizing why. Awareness brings choice back into your hands. This is why I am speaking now. Because something in you is becoming aware. You have already felt it. That sense that something is off. That quiet pressure that does not go away. That feeling that you are busy but not fully at peace. Those are not random emotions. Those are signals. And the enemy hopes you ignore them long enough that they fade back into the background. I want you to understand this without fear. The enemy does not have authority over you. They do not control you. They cannot force you. That is why they rely on distraction. They work through agreement. When you stay unaware, you unknowingly agree to carry burdens you were never meant to carry. When you become aware, that agreement breaks. They are not afraid of you becoming louder or more active. They are afraid of you becoming still and honest. Stillness reveals truth. Honesty exposes lies you have been living under without realizing it. That is why this moment feels important. Because stillness and honesty are close right now. Delay keeps you from connecting the dots. Delay keeps you from realizing why you have been so tired, why joy feels thinner, why peace feels fragile. Delay keeps you blaming yourself for things that are actually happening around you. Awareness shifts that blame into understanding. Understanding leads to freedom. The enemy hopes you tell yourself this message is dramatic. They hope you minimize it so you can move on comfortably. They hope you say, "This doesn't apply to me," even though something in you knows it does. Minimizing truth is another way of delaying response. It allows you to stay comfortable without being changed. I am not telling you this so you become suspicious of every thought or fearful of every distraction. That is not my desire. I am telling you so you can see clearly. Clear sight does not make you anxious. It steadies you. When you know what is happening, you stop reacting blindly. You may wonder why distraction feels so strong lately. Why it is harder to focus. Why quiet moments feel uncomfortable. Why you instinctively reach for noise. That is not because you are weak. It is because something does not want you to sit long enough to hear what your heart has been trying to say. The enemy hopes you stay busy enough that you never ask deeper questions. Busy enough that you never pause long enough to notice patterns. Busy enough that you keep functioning without healing. That is why they prefer distraction over destruction. Distraction keeps you alive but distant. Alive but unaware. Alive but carrying weight you do not need to carry. I want you alert, not alarmed. Alertness is calm. Alertness is steady. Alertness simply notices. Pat a cloud the judgment. Awareness sharpens it. I am not asking you to fight anything right now. I am asking you to see. Comment Jesus, you have all of me if you've surrendered your life completely to Him. Seeing breaks the cycle. When you see the pull of distraction, you can choose not to follow it. When you see the pattern of delay, you can choose to respond differently. When you see how noise has been used to keep you from listening, you can choose stillness without fear. The enemy hopes you treat this moment as optional. I am telling you it is protective. Not because danger is everywhere, but because truth is near. When truth is near, resistance often rises quietly. That resistance does not mean something bad is happening. It means something important is. You do not need to be stronger than the enemy. You need to be aware. Awareness brings you back into alignment with me. Alignment brings peace. Peace restores clarity. Clarity makes you harder to pull off course. I know you have a lot demanding your attention. I know it feels selfish to pause. But this pause is not selfish. It is necessary. You cannot pour from a heart that has been quietly drained by distraction. I am helping you notice the drain so it can be closed. Do not fear the enemy. Fear gives them more attention than they deserve. Simply refuse to stay unaware. Refuse to move past this moment without listening. Refuse to tell yourself this does not matter. That is all that is required right now. Stay with me a little longer. Let this awareness settle without panic. You are not in danger. You are being protected. You are not being attacked. You are being invited to see clearly again. The enemy hoped you would scroll past. You did. That matters. Not because you fought, but because you stayed. And staying opens the door for truth to do its work gently, steadily, and completely. Remain here with me. Awareness is growing. And as it grows, the pull of distraction will lose its power over you. My child, I need you to hear this with seriousness, not fear. Distraction is more dangerous than you think, not because it is loud or obvious, but because it works quietly. It does not announce itself as harm. It presents itself as normal life. It blends into your day so smoothly that you do not notice what it is slowly taking from you. That is why I am speaking now, with clarity and weight, because what is subtle can be more damaging than what is sudden. Distraction dulls discernment. Discernment is your ability to sense what is true, what is aligned, what is not meant for you. When discernment is sharp, you recognize when something is pulling you away from peace. You notice when a thought does not come from me. You feel when a choice will cost you more than it gives. But distraction blunts that edge. It makes everything feel equal. Important and unimportant begin to blend together, and you stop noticing what deserves your attention most. This does not happen overnight. That is why it is dangerous. It happens slowly, in small shifts you barely register. You fill every quiet moment with noise. You move from one task to the next without pausing. You consume words, images, opinions, information, until your mind feels full but your heart feels empty. Over time, you stop checking in with your spirit. You stop listening inwardly. Not because you don't care, but because you are tired. Spiritual numbness does not arrive as darkness. It arrives as dullness. You still function. You still show up. You still believe. But you feel less. Joy feels thinner. Conviction feels quieter. Peace feels harder to reach. You begin to accept heaviness as normal. You tell yourself this is just how life is now. That is numbness, subtly and gently. Busy people are especially vulnerable to this, not because they are doing something wrong, but because busyness leaves little room for reflection. When you are always moving, you do not notice when you are drifting. When you are always responding, you stop initiating listening. You begin to live in reaction instead of alignment. That slow drift is what concerns me, because drift rarely feels dangerous until you look back and realize how far you have moved from where you started. Noise replaces listening before you realize it has happened. You still hear many voices, many sounds, many opinions, but you stop hearing mine clearly. Not because I stopped speaking, but because there is no space left for my voice to settle. My voice is steady. It is not frantic. It does not compete. When everything else grows louder, my voice becomes easier to overlook, even though it has not changed. I see how often you reach for noise without thinking. A screen, a task, a conversation, something to fill the space. Silence feels uncomfortable now, not because it is empty, but because it exposes what you have been avoiding. In silence, you notice your fatigue. You notice your questions. You notice your longing. Distraction keeps those things at a distance, but distance does not heal them. I am not condemning you for this. I understand the pressure you live under. I understand how this world rewards speed and constant output. I understand how rest can feel unproductive and quiet can feel unsafe. But I need you to see what is happening so you can choose differently, not from guilt, but from wisdom. Distraction makes you easier to lead without your consent. When you are not aware, you agree without realizing it. You agree to carry stress you were never meant to carry. You agree to voices that do not speak life. You agree to rhythms that drain you slowly. Awareness breaks those agreements. That is why distraction is so effective. It keeps you from noticing what you are agreeing to. I have watched you push through days when your heart needed rest. I have watched you ignore small warnings because stopping felt impossible. I have watched you normalize exhaustion and call it strength. That breaks my heart, not because you are weak, but because you are precious. You were not created to live constantly overwhelmed. You were created to live connected. The danger of distraction is not that it pulls you away all at once. It is that it slowly replaces depth with surface. Rare becomes quick. Listening becomes rare. Decisions become reactive. You still love me, but you do not linger with me. Relationship becomes something you fit in instead of something you live from. That shift changes everything. You may wonder why it feels harder to sense my guidance lately. Why choices feel more confusing. Why peace feels fragile. This is not because I am distant. It is because your attention hath been scattered. Scattered attention makes everything feel unclear. Focus restores clarity. I want you to understand that discernment needs quiet to function. Just as your body needs rest to heal, your spirit needs stillness to sense truth. When stillness disappears, discernment weakens. You begin to rely on logic alone, on habit alone, on what feels urgent instead of what is wise. That is not because you are failing. It is because you are overloaded. Lies trains you to react instead of reflect. It trains you to respond immediately instead of listening deeply. Over time, you stop asking, "Is this from me?" and start asking, "What do I need to do next?" That shift seems small, but it changes how you live. You become driven by demand instead of guided by truth. I am speaking with deep seriousness now because I do not want you to lose your sensitivity. Sensitivity is not weakness. It is a gift. It allows you to sense when something is off before it becomes obvious. It allows you to feel my leading gently. Distraction hardens sensitivity without you noticing. It numbs with one's alive. You have felt this numbness trying to settle. That is why this message caught your attention. Something in you knew you needed to stop. That is not coincidence. That is your spirit responding to truth before numbness could deepen. I am not asking you to remove all noise from your life. I am asking you to stop letting noise replace listening. I am asking you to create space again, even small space, where you are not consuming, not reacting, not performing, Space where you can simply be with me. This is not about doing more. It is about noticing more. Noticing when your heart feels heavy. Noticing when your peace feels thin. Noticing when you are moving too fast to feel. These are not signs of failure. They are invitations to return. I want you to feel the seriousness of this without feeling afraid. Fear paralyzes. Awareness strengthens. I am not warning you because something terrible is about to happen. I am warning you because something subtle has been happening, and now is the right time to stop it. You are not lost. You are drifting, and drifting can be corrected. All it takes is attention. All it takes is willingness to pause. All it takes is listening again. Stay with me here. Let this truth sink in gently. You do not need to fix everything today. You do not need to change your whole life at once. You only need to see clearly what distraction has been doing so you can choose presence again. I am with you in this. I am not watching from a distance. I am close, steady, patient. I am speaking because I love you too much to let numbness settle in quietly. Listen now, not with fear, but with honesty. Your discernment can be sharpened again. Your sensitivity can be restored. Your peace can deepen. But it begins by seeing distraction for what it is and choosing to stay present with me instead. Remain here. Let the noise fall back for a moment. Let your heart breathe. This seriousness is not meant to weigh you down. It is meant to wake you up gently, so you can live fully awake again. My child, I need to lift a heavy weight from your heart right now. You are not too busy. You are not failing because your schedule is full. You are not disappointing me because your days feel crowded. Let go of that shame. It does not come from me. What you are experiencing is not a lack of devotion. It is something else entirely. You are being pulled, quietly and persistently, and that pull has made everything feel heavier than it should. I see how often you blame yourself. You tell yourself that if you cared more, you would slow down. If you were stronger, you would focus better. If you were more disciplined, you would feel closer to me. The voice accusing you is not truth. It ignores what has really been happening. Busyness is not the problem. The problem is the unseen pull on your attention that has been working beneath the surface of your life. There is a difference between responsibility and distraction, and I want you to understand it clearly. Responsibility comes from love and purpose. It has weight, but it also has meaning. Distraction steals weight and meaning alike. Responsibility may tire you, but it does not hollow you out. Distraction leaves you exhausted in ways rest does not repair. You have been confusing the two, and that confusion has made you feel guilty for things you should be aware of instead. You have responsibilities I place